Frank Isola, how do you think Roger Goodell did?
Well, his answer was satisfactory to me. I would think that the people in New Orleans, the organization, the fans aren't going to like it, but what he said made a lot of sense. Yes, we agree with you. It was a bad call, or a bad non-call. It's not the first one in the history of the sport. I think what makes this one look really bad is not only pass interference, it was helmet to helmet, but guess what? It happens. The Saints are not the first team that this has ever happened to. They won't be the last.
And you think the NFL can capably move on now?
Well, why not? It's about the Super Bowl this week. I think, the first year that the Patriots made it, it wasn't about, with the Brady era, it wasn't about the Tuck rule. All right, you move on to the Super Bowl. Every team in the league could point to certain plays that have gone against them in crucial times in a playoff.
Clinton Yates, can the NFL move on now?
I think so. I was actually, dare I say, somewhat impressed with Roger Goodell in this situation because he told the truth. He said straight up, we botched it, and this is what happens when you have human beings who are referees. This is what football is. And it could have gone many different ways. He didn't dodge it. He basically came out and said, yeah, we got to find a way to do better, which is exactly correct going forward. I think he actually did pretty well.
Israel Gutierrez, can the NFL and football fans move on?
I mean, yeah, they can and they should, but this is what I was saying before when everybody was clamoring for Roger Goodell to come out and speak. He was just going to say what we already know. He wasn't going to come out and say, hey, these are my firm suggestions for the competition committee, and this is what we should do. He's putting it in the hands of the others who, and frankly, they're in charge of that. That is the competition committee's issue. That's what they're in charge of doing. And so, yeah, he just kind of lays it out there and says this is what happened. But again, this is what we already knew. He sort of didn't really ease anybody or soothe anybody with what he said.
Paige?
Move on. We'll never move on, Tony. I mean, we haven't moved on from Deflategate. We're still talking about the Tuck rule this week. I mean, you never move on. You can't, as you always say, you can't write the history of the NFL without mentioning that call in the game in the NFC Championship. Clinton, I got to totally disagree with you. He said plenty of nothing today. Really? You got something out of all that? He said, oh, yeah, the call was blown. But you know how he said it? That they called Sean Payton and told him. I mean, I didn't know that Sean Payton was a representative of the National Football League. He's the one that had to announce it to us. I think that they could have done a better job, been more transparent, and I thought all his issues that he addressed today, he didn't really say much of anything. Okay. I now know more about China, London, and Mexico City than I wanted to know.
Clinton Yates, you want to respond to Woody?
Yeah, I mean, he was responding to the question he was asked. Listen, I am not one of the people who was up in arms about the non-call and the results of the game to begin with, so I didn't need him to be addressing this as if it was some matter of state secrets. It wasn't that big of a deal at this point of the NFL timeline.
Israel Gutierrez?
So I think what he did now made sense.
I mean, he was doing his best job of PR. If you remember the Kaepernick question about the performances in the Super Bowl, he strictly went to commenting about the artists that are already there and not really discussing the question. This was classic Goodell, but what else? What were you going to expect?
Yeah, I would just like to say that you never dress the helmet to helmet. They're so concerned about security. Why in the world isn't there an eye in the sky? Forget the pass interference for a moment. That judges helmet to helmet so they can take care of that problem, which they've
an eye in the sky. All right. Sounds like Woody's been spending some time in Vegas.